What's up guys, and welcome back to Gabe Miller Music. Today I'm going to be reviewing the ROLI Lightpad Block and answer the question, is it worth it? Because it's not a cheap MIDI controller, and it is a MIDI controller. And yes, it is small, it is adorable, and it's marketed as being extremely expressive and adding whole new dimensions to your music production experience. But is that actually worth the price, and is it actually that good and that revolutionary? Also in this video, in addition to just talking at your face, I'm going to show some audio examples of stuff I've made using only the block and the software that comes with it. And full disclosure, they did send this to me over a year ago, so I haven't really had a whole lot of contact with the company since, so all the opinions here are purely my own, and I'm definitely glad I own this, but the short answer to the question of is it worth it is yes, but not for the reasons that ROLI thinks it's worth it. So first of all, let's talk about the build of the device itself. It feels very well built and quite sturdy, and I do quite like the form factor. The squishy pads do take some time to get used to, and I don't really like the default sensitivity settings. You really have to press hard to get a decent velocity on a note. Fortunately, with their dashboard, you can adjust a lot of those parameters, and I was able to adjust it to something that was much more comfortable to play and didn't require me to basically just hit the thing to get it to make sounds. So sensitivity would have been a con on this for me, but I was able to adjust it, and so now it's fine. And that's, I think, good to know going in. As far as expressiveness of playing goes, it is fun. I will say that right off the bat. I've already eliminated one dimension of that expressiveness with getting rid of a lot of its velocity sensitivity, but I don't think that's much of a loss, at least for the kind of music I'm making. So the main usefulness of this is the ability to slide stuff around, both for drums and for synths. You can do pitch bends, you can kind of open filter cutoffs very quickly and intuitively. You can get hi-hat stutters, you can induce reverb, tails, and other kind of glitchy effects on drums. It's cool, I will admit that, and it helps add a lot of ear candy to a track that otherwise would have been fairly static. And I have had fun making music with this thing, in part because of its expressiveness. However, I don't think the expressiveness is as useful as ROLI thinks it is. It's a bit of a gimmick, and the times that I've had it work for me are the times that I've really gone out of my way to use it as the gimmick that it is. And in that case, I have had fun using it for that, but you definitely do have to go out of your way to use it on purpose. I don't think it can really invisibly blend into a workflow. And there's not a whole lot of other plugins that work with this, although there are a few, and this is one other thing that makes this much more useful than it used to be. From what I understand, it used to be the case that you would use this to trigger iOS apps, and that was the main use case for it. That's pretty limiting. You can definitely make some good stuff on iOS. I've done it. I've heard other people make some really high quality stuff on iOS, but it definitely is limiting. Now they've got their whole suite of ROLI Studio stuff, which is where they brought me on as kind of part of their promotional campaign, and that's their drum plugin and their synth plugin that are made dedicated to work with this thing, and they've got some decent sound packs. All the music that you're gonna hear in this video is made using pretty much only that stuff. And also, as far as I understand, you can use this with Serum, and there's another synth that actually allows you to do some sound design from scratch that is built intentionally to interface with this thing. So if you want to get into 5D sound design, I personally haven't, but that option is out there, and this will work for that. As will the Seaboard block, but I don't have one of those. I just have the one Lightpad block, so that's what I'm gonna be focusing on. If you're buying a ROLI product based mostly or only on its expressiveness, you better really want its expressiveness and be prepared to absolutely go out of your way to use it, or else it's probably not worth it. However, the thing in my mind that makes this worth it is not the expressiveness, but the size. I mean, look at it. It's adorable. And as a small person, I love small gear. And as a person who loves producing music kind of on the go, I love small gear. This has been living in my backpack for months. And unless I take it out to use it, I don't even have to think about it. It takes up so little space. And because it has different modes that the lights can switch between, you can have scales on here, you can have drum pads on here, you can have mixing on here. You can pack a lot of very intuitive functionality into a really small device. To me, that is the thing that actually makes this useful and actually makes it worth it. It is the smallest commercially available MIDI controller I could find. I was actually thinking about doing a video called the smallest MIDI controller ever, and I couldn't find anything smaller than this that's commercially available. I found some stuff that you have to do some soldering on yourself, and I found some stuff that's like kickstarted and in varying stages of who knows when it'll be delivered. This, as far as MIDI controllers go, is pretty much as small as it gets. If you want something that's incredibly portable, incredibly flexible, that's the draw for this thing. This is Gabe from the future. One other thing that could potentially make this worth it for you is that when you buy a piece of ROLI hardware, you're kind of buying into the whole ROLI ecosystem. There's a whole little mini universe of ROLI hardware and software that are built for each other. So they all work together really well, and they're all meant to talk to each other. So if you like the idea of buying into the kind of ROLI sound and the ROLI workflow, you might find that appealing, especially because the hardware component of it is so small and portable. And then you just bring the plugins into your DAW and go from there. I've enjoyed working with their kind of futuristic sounds for making some futuristic EDM and trap. However, one thing I do want to mention is that I have had some bugginess with some of the software. Even after disabling the velocity sensitivity on this thing, some of the software is a little overly sensitive, and stuff never really triggers the same way twice when you play it in. Plus, every now and again, the plugins will decide to just stop making sounds and I have to just restart my DAW. It's not a huge deal, but it can be a workflow killer, and it's something that's at least worth knowing going in. And maybe you won't have this problem, but I had the same problems on 2 separate computers, so your mileage may vary there. But if you do like the idea of buying into the ROLI ecosystem, despite its flaws, I think it can be a lot of fun, and it is self-contained-ish. Kind of like buying into the Native Instruments Machine or an Ableton Push. So, to sum up the talking portion of this video, and to really answer the question in the title, is the ROLI Lightpad Block worth it? Yes, but only if either you really, really can't live without the expressiveness, or if you really want a tiny, ultra-portable MIDI controller. With all that being said, here are a few sound demos of me making music with the ROLI Lightpad Block and its associated plugins. And that is it for today. If you found this video helpful, I'd love to have you hit that like button and subscribe for more electronic music production videos. If you'd like to see me make music from scratch with the ROLI Lightpad Block and its associated software, you can click tap up over here, and I will be back with a new video on Friday. Peace.